keep going.
Why, hello there. I'm C-Flow, or you may know me as Crucible Gaming. Many of you thought that I was a person, but it turns out I've been an NPC of Baldur's Gate the whole time. I'm here today to talk about timelines. It turns out there's a lot you can do with them. For example, you can get some cool shots with the camera. We can also add in some VFX. See that tree over there? I can strike it with lightning. I can do silly dances like this. I can even add objects from the scene or not from the scene into the dialogue. The sky is the limit. Anyway, have a great day and don't forget to join our Discord. All right, hey, well, welcome back to the channel. Today we have another fun guide for you, and we are going to be talking about timelines, as I am guessing you could have imagined from the start of that video. And essentially, what we're going to do is I am just going to walk you through the steps that I took to do some of the things in that video that you watched at the beginning. So this will not be a full-on guide where we go step by step and create that from scratch, but I'm going to show you everything that I did to do all of the cool things in that video. But I do want to note that it is important that you have already watched the other dialogue and intro to timelines video, which will help you get some of this stuff set up, get the voice acting there, all of those sort of things. So what we want to do is grab our dialogue, just a flat dialogue, lots of responses. We generated our timeline through full copper, so now we can just hit open. And the timeline window pops up. So the way that the timeline editor formatted this is the first answer, which is just the why hello there, I'm C-Flow, and then the rest of the nodes it put together just because it was just that same NPC talking the entire time. So if I double click on it, we can see a lot of things are added. So don't worry about all of this. Your version will be much simpler if you've opened up a new timeline. The first thing I want to do is just talk through this window in general. So over here we have all of the different components in our video, all of the different speakers, cameras, effects, things like that. Yours will probably cut off right about after Peanuts if I had to guess. And then over here we have the actual timeline window. This looks very similar to most video production setups if you are familiar with things like Adobe Premiere, or if you are an animator, this might look like your animator workflow, and just kind of our simple timeline editor. So yeah, that's kind of what we got going on. Let's talk through how we did some of the things that you saw in that video. First of all, I want to talk through cameras. So how do we get different cameras? Well, to do that, we press Open Scene, which opens our scene window. And then over here, we can add a new camera. And then we click that camera, we right click and we press Pilot. And then we can move that camera wherever we want. So, if we just want like a side scene like that, that works great. And then when we switch back to the other window, it'll give us this message. There are changes to the piloted camera. Would you like to apply them? We can just hit yes, and that camera is now set. Now, in order to see it, maybe we want to change this first clip here of the many of you thought I was a person. If I just delete the camera that's already there, and then we go to shot from scene, I can scroll over to camera 4 and hit add. And then you'll notice on here, when we press play, we can see the camera from that angle. And same thing if we went into game, we'd be able to see it from that angle too. So then to add another camera angle, it would just be as simple as deleting another one of these clips. And then I could go either from existing track if that camera is already on the track, or create from scene. Those are the easiest ways to do that. Now you may be wondering, okay, that's cool. Like those are how we get different cameras on there. But I saw something where the camera was actually moving. How do we get the camera to move? Well, in order to get the camera to move, sorry, first of all, I'm going to head back to this so you can see the full screen again. In order to get the camera to move, we just go down to our camera. So this is camera 4. We're going to add a track. We're going to add a infinite transform. So transform just means, move, rotate, scale, all of those things. And we'll see that it automatically adds a key here. Well, what is a key? If you've never worked with video or animation before, a key or a keyframe is just a piece of data about the object that we're editing in an instance of time. So this is, something, a property about the object, and it also has to do with the time. So if we want to move our camera while the scene is going, we would just make sure we have a keyframe at the start, and then we would add a keyframe at the end as well. So let's try that. Let's make sure that's working. Yeah. So now when I press play, we can see the camera's just slightly moving. And utilizing this keyframe on our objects really is the meat of what we are doing today. Keyframes, can do all sorts of things, but that's how we get moving cameras. So next, let's talk through animations. You saw that silly dance animation. Animations are very, very easy to add. Again, we'll click wherever we want to place the animation. We want to add the animation onto our speaker here. So under track, we would go to animation and then body. I do already have that on here. And then we would press this plus symbol. So we're going to add a component to the timeline. And then you just search for whatever you want to add. So, dance or, whatever animation resource you want to add. You can click it. And then when we press play here, our speaker performs the animation. We also have properties. If we right click this, we can go over to properties and we can see all sorts of things with the animation. We can change it from continuing the animation after it's over to holding it to none, speed, fade in and out, all sorts of things we can change to make the animation look good. I do find that the animation often looks really good coming right out of the gate. The next thing I want to talk about is VFX. So you saw the lightning hit that tree. How did we do that? Well, in order to add something like that, we would go up to the resources up here, and we would just search whatever we want. Maybe it's lightning, and we want to do a different type of lightning. Yeah, something like this lightning arrow looks fine. We'd press add. It adds something new down here. So we have a new track for it. We can press add track. And for this one, we need a play effect. So for animations, we need to have a play effect. If it was a looping animation, we would need one keyframe to key on the play effect and another one to key it off. So we'll just go ahead and we'll add the play effect right there. Let's start it over. And we see we have the VFX. Similar to the camera, if we want to move that around, we would just add a transform to it. Maybe we'll just add it up in the air slightly. Maybe even a little bit more here. Oh, we have it. There you go. It's moving. So I want to make sure if we want it just to be in the air, we'll notice right here on this key, I have it set to 1. And on this key, it's set to 0. So I would just need to make sure that those were deleted and that the 1 was right at the beginning, just so it's not moving during the scene. Let's try that again. There we go. And now it's just in the air. Almost looks as if, maybe if we set that a bit later, it almost looks as if he is dodging because of the magic in the air. Delayed reaction. You get what we were going for, though. We can also add sound through a similar process. We're actually going to add sound not to the VFX, as you might guess, but to the player group, just so that the sound plays for the players. So we'll go up to track, sound event, and this just adds a sound event track onto the player. And then we can just add a key there. right click, do properties, and then choose the sound effect that you want. In this editor, the sound won't play, so you just go to your game. You can play around. There's a button up here called um, enable sound effects, but I don't find that it does anything. So it does play in the game though. The last thing that I want to talk about is, and I will just say, you can move this around as you would expect to line up with the VFX. The last thing that I want to talk about is, in that video you saw the sword floating behind the NPC. How do we get objects into the game? Well, we can add our root template by clicking this add template button, and then, I don't know, maybe we just want like a crate or something like that, and then we just press add, and it adds a timeline template to the bottom there. We can see it in game there. And as you have probably guessed how we would get this object to move, we would add another one of our transforms. This one would be a rotation transform. So we just want to make sure that we have a rotation key at the start. And then, maybe at the end of that one, we'll add another keyframe. We'll go to the properties. We'll change this up a bit. I have a feeling the origin is not set to the middle of this, which is why it's rotating, kind of through the ground. I bet the origin is on the corner, but that's okay. This is just quick. So now if we press play, we get our rotating object. So that's how we get objects in. That's how you get them moving. If we wanted to change the interpolation of these, meaning like for camera effects, for example, let me go back up to our camera. Here it is. We can change the way that our camera moves or any of our keyframes just by right-clicking and then changing the key interpolation. So, the difference of linear, meaning that the camera just moves at a very steady pace. It's not speeding up or slowing down all the way throughout. Or we can do smooth, which might be better for some things. Just right-click. And then we could change that to smooth. It changes the shapes of them. And our animation is so slow it might be hard to see, but these different interpolations do things like make it so that the movement starts slow but then speeds up and then slows down again. Or it just stays linear, it's the same speed throughout the entire thing. So those are just some of the things we can do with or keyframes, excuse me. So I think that is really kind of the bread and butter of everything that I added. We can move when the voiceover and subtitle displays within the scene. One of the things I didn't show in that video, I didn't do a very good job doing lighting, but similar to how we added cameras, we can add lights. And then, once we have the light in there, we can edit the lights in here as well. So just all sorts of things that we can play around with, to just make our scenes look pretty. So like I mentioned, I know this is not a full-on guide in the sense that we didn't go through and completely recreate everything that you saw, but I did just want to show you kind of all the bigger, more advanced features, because with the things that you've learned in this video and the things that you've learned in the last dialogue video, you should be able to start making some really pretty scenes. So thanks so much. As always, please do join our Discord if you haven't. That is where you can find the link to the latest release of MoonGlasses, which is the name of this unlocked tool. MoonGlasses fixes a ton of bugs. It allows for things like constructions to be visible in our newest update. So you definitely want to make sure that as you're doing this, that you have this MoonGlasses up here. I'm running version 1.1, so run either this or later. And I'll also leave a link to the Nexus for that as well. So thanks so much, and we'll see you next time. Leave a comment with the next video that you want to see. And I do appreciate a subscription just because that will let you know every time I release a new video. Thanks.